this letter is addressed by Shri Uddhav Thackeray.
That's correct. That's correct.
Because the signature doesn't appear there. That's why I just
It doesn't matter, Malad. It's an information of the decision of the party to appoint these two people as the leader, group leader, as well as the chief whip.
So this was the resolution which was communicated was prima facie, subject to what you can say, correct? The elected MLA's meeting was convened.
Yes.
It was resolved like 1 and 2, which
Yes.
intimated to the speaker.
Yes, but no, Malad, the decision was of Uddhav Thackeray.
So, anyway.
The decision is of Uddhav Thackeray, Malad.
doesn't appear to be so, Mr.
It says so, Malad, first paragraph. First and the second paragraph both. Second paragraph both say so, Malad.
Second says that a meeting was chaired, and third says elected MLAs unanimously resolved that all decisions of today's meeting be decided by
Uddhav Thackeray. So he is and authorized by Uddhav Thackeray to take all the decisions of the meeting. The decision is of Uddhav Thackeray, Malad.
But having said that, it also appears that the decision attains a certain degree of legitimacy because it is communicated by the MLAs to the speaker, it appears. It may be that, of course, as the unquestioned party leader at that time, he was to decide who would be the group leader and who would be the chief whip. But the communication to the speaker is signed by all the 56 MLAs, and they eventually resolve that who will be the group leader and the chief whip. It seems to be that.
Well, as I showed to your lordships the law on the subject and the decision of the subject, it will be clear that it is only the party that appoints.
Both the resolution which you read,
Yes.
the communications, one removing Mr. Eknath Shinde, correct, and appointing this Ajay Chaudhary, were in the meeting of the legislative party. Please see.
Yes, yes.
They were not the decisions taken, the resolutions were passed in the party meeting.
No, but that doesn't happen, Mullah. That never happens.
That-
Mullah, what happens?
Just for clarity of
Yes, certainly, sir.
both these resolutions
Yes.
were in the meeting of the legislative
I
party.
tell your lordships why. Mullah, I tell your lordships why. Mullah, what happens is it's the legislative party that has to accept a leader. There is always a consultation with the party. The party is represented by Uddhav Thackeray.
Just what we want to say, speaking of myself, it was not in the meeting of the party.
No, it is never. It is
It
never, Mullah. It is never, Mullah. Well, I'm explaining that to you. Explaining that. Ultimately, Mullah, a group leader or a leader in the house has to be chosen. Right? So what the party whip and what the leader of the party does is calls the legislators and says, who would you like to be the leader? They take their view and the party takes the decision. It's not a party meeting. Your lordship is right. It doesn't happen in the AICC or the DPCC. It happens with the leader, namely the chairperson or the prime minister, acting in his capacity as the head of the BJP. He will be consulted. But it's why? Because it is the legislative members who have to accept somebody as a leader. So the decision is given by the party that this is the person who is we choose as the leader. Now you cannot. This doesn't happen in the plenary, Madam. That's the process, Madam.
Okay.
And I will demonstrate that, Madam. That your lordship is absolutely right. Because ultimately, Madam, that who has to work? Somebody within the legislature has to work with the leader. Here, they are the ones who are concerned. So their views will be taken and the party will decide.
Yes.
So therefore, they say, okay, let Uddhav Thackeray decide, we'll accept what you say. That's how it happens.
According to you, the decision in the legislative party meeting would always be on the advice of the party.
Always.
That's what you're saying.
That's right, always. And it's recognized by this court, Manoj, in several decisions. So it's Manoj, it's the practice, it's the norm everywhere in every political party.
leader as well as the whip, both you are saying.
Sorry?
Leader as well as the whip.
That's right. Manoj, what happens, I just explained that also. Leadership will decide who the chief whip will be. Leadership will decide who the group leader will be. But the chief whip will decide, not pursuant to, chief whip will decide, carry out the instructions of the leader when matters are in the house. There, Manoj, the leader doesn't come in. Chief whip will say, we'll go to the leader and say, look, this is the issue before the house. How do we deal with it? Leader will discuss it with the chief whip. Chief whip will communicate. That's how parliamentary democracy works. But your lordship is absolutely right, and it's a good point that your lordship has pointed out so that I can clarify it. No member of the
I
legislature.
understand that because your submission yesterday was that the appointment of the chief whip or the group leader is something which is never done by the
Never
MLA.
done by the-
It's always done by the party.
I'll do, yes.
So if there, your second limb of the submission was if there is a split, that split also, of course, there's no concept of a split in the 10 schedule.
That's right.
But even assuming there's a split in the party, that split is outside the Legislative Assembly, and
Correct.
it can't be that
Correct.
the 56 MLAs decide that, well, we have now merged or we have there is a split in our party.
It is settled law, Malad. I mean, I'm just indicating
All right.
this is how it happened, but it is settled law that as far as the whip is concerned, and that's in answer to my lord's question, as far as the whip is concerned and the leader is concerned, it's always decided by the party.
That you said yesterday.
Yes, I'm just saying, Malad, the process was in this particular case this. So if a letter is written, I don't know, Malad, we'll find out. I'll find out. If the letter is communicated,
And Mr. Sibal, on that you may be right also for this reason that a whip is a direction to the elected members of the legislature, whether it's in parliament or a legislative assembly or council, that you shall vote in a particular manner, or this is our position on this particular aspect, on the discussion on a bill or whatever you're doing as an elected legislator. Therefore, that direction to the members is also always
by the whip.
outside
Yes. That I'll demonstrate.
outside the legislature.
I'm sorry.
Shows the relevant rules of the legislature.
I will, Malad. I will, in fact, Malad, I will show that, and it will be clarified. But my lord is right that from the perspective of the format, your lordships may be right that it is forwarded by, but we'll have to check that. But assuming it doesn't make difference to the
Mr.
to the
Sibal, why
substance
don't
of-
we go straight to the rules of the because the rules of the assembly
Malad.
must be telling us how a chief whip is nominated, how a group leader is
No,
would
rules of the
be.
assembly don't say that, Malad.
Oh.
There is no rule of the assembly, but this is what has been decided. But this is the convention in every political party. Why, Malas? Because the legislators come into the house on the basis of the symbol given and the election, Malas, pursuant to which they are in the house. They are governed by the discipline of the party, not their internal discipline in the house. And the discipline of the party, I will please.
So the rules, Mr. Sibal, therefore, rules of the Legislative Assembly are silent. There's no guidance.
No, there is no. But there is also, Malaj, there is a particular rule, Maharashtra Legislature Members Removal of Disqualification Act, under which it is made clear. This communication which I have read was sent to Eknath Shinde, Malaj, by the Chief Whip. Now Eknath Shinde replies to it. Now, Malaj, this act, the fact that you did not attend the meeting, the fact that you wrote this letter, the fact that you appointed the Chief Whip, you 45 people or whoever, whether it's 40 or 45 at the moment, we're not on that you are members of the Legislative Assembly, you have appointed your own Chief Whip, you say that you are no longer the Whip. Malaj, is all, Malaj, there is no, as far as I am concerned, Malaj, this is per se illegal. This doesn't emanate from the party. He cannot, members of the legislature cannot, Malaj, pass such a resolution, cannot defy the whip, cannot remove the whip. So the 40 odd members, Malaj, sitting in Assam convert themselves into the party and decide to remove everybody. So he is acting as a group leader of the members of the legislature. So therefore, Malaj, let's put it in simple terms. In any assembly, 10 people can get together and remove, Malaj, the Chief Whip. And then they can go to the opposite party and Malaj, with the numbers game that is going on, they can actually destabilize the government and have their own chief minister. This is the outcome if this is upheld if it is held to be valid. If such an exercise is held to be valid, the outcome is that you can remove, an elected government can be removed any time depending on the arithmetic.
To put it on the flip side, therefore, Mr. Sibal, your contention would be then if this outcome has to be lawfully achieved of removing the Chief Whip or the group leader, then what is the course of action to be followed according to you?
They have to go to the party, call a meeting of the party, or you merge.
Party would mean the national executive, or what would it mean?
You have to call the national executive, the Pratinidhi Sabha, the general body, the Pratinidhi Sabha, not the Karyakarani, Malaj. That's a 13 members. The Pratinidhi Sabha has 262 odd members. Mullah's point is they have never been to the party.
Of course, the only chink in that submission, I mean, we must put it to you straight so that you can deal with it, is that that was not the process which was originally followed when the chief whip or the group leader was nominated, unless we also postulate that when the group leader and the chief whip were originally nominated, Uddhav Thackeray was acting as the party.
Yes, because he was neither a member of the council nor was he the chief minister. He was nothing. He is the Paksh Pramukh under the constitution.
One thing, as Brother Justice Emma Shah pointed out very clearly, it's obvious that the appointment and the nomination of the group leader and the chief whip was made at a meeting of the MLAs. Now, because it clearly says Amdarancha Baitakit. But
answer that straight away.
but it is also in the presence of Mr. Thackeray, and the MLAs begin by saying that we are assigning to Mr. Uddhav Thackeray the right to take all decisions.
Yeah.
Then they pass a resolution at a meeting of the MLAs. So it's a sort of a hybrid situation where the group leader, power to nominate a group leader and the chief whip is delegated to Shri Uddhav Thackeray, but there is a, so to speak, an anointment of them at the meeting of the MLAs. So the only way really that the two can be reconciled is by postulating that in that sense, at the original meeting, Mr. Uddhav Thackeray was the party. He was, whether you like it or not, he was the party. It was not a meeting of the national executive. It was not a meeting of the plenary of the party. But he was really the whole and soul, because he was not an elected member at that point of time at all.
He was the president, Mullah, of the party.
He was the president.
Paksh Pramukh.
He was the Paksha Pramukh.
Yes. Mullah, it's very interesting you raised that, your Lordship raised this. Let's analyze it. Let's, Mullah, analyze the circumstances against me. Let's assume this all can be done within the legislature. I'll assume that, Mullah, that the party has no role. So, Mullah, therefore, 50 people in the House can actually have a leader in the House without reference to the party, if that logic is accepted. 50 members of the House can actually oust the party whip appointed by the party. That's the consequence.
When were the elections held?
2018.
The first document at page PDF 14.
23rd January 2018.
17th February 2018.
No, but that's the communication, but the elections are 23rd January
23rd
2018.
January, it speaks about that.
Yes. The point that I'm making to your Lordships is, this is unheard of in any democracy, in any legislature.
Elections were held on 23/1/18, you said, right?
23.
Yes. Mullah, it will be entirely unworkable, because you will then say that there is no relationship between the members of the legislature and the party. They are independent of the party. They can take whatever decision they like. It will be destructive of, if you ask me, the basic structure of a system of governance which allows the party and the legislatures to be intertwined in matters where the decisions have to be taken on various very significant issues as they come up in the assembly or in parliament.
Well, you can tell me later, but what I want to know, this letter speaks about organizational elections.
Yes.
It talks about organizational
That's correct.
elections. So what are this? It is to the different tiers, is it?
Yes, it's in different tiers.
There's something called a general body, is it?
There is a Rashtriya Karyakarani, which is the national executive, 13 members. Then there is the Pratinidhi Sabha, which is about 262 members.
What is at the bottom?
Sorry?
What is representing the general body?
Pratinidhi Sabha.
Pratinidhi Sabha.
Pratinidhi Sabha. But of course, you can't hold a meeting of all the members of the party all over Maharashtra.
I'm just asking for information.
Yes. So there's a tier system. There's a tier system.
Is at the is virtually like a general body.
Yes. There's a tier system by which people are both appointed and elected.
Pratinidhi Sabha.
Yes, Pratinidhi Sabha.
And Mr. Sibal, possibly this line of argument of yours is also buttressed by 2B of the 10th schedule,
Yes.
which says if he votes or abstains from voting in such house, contrary to the direction issued by the political party to which he belongs,
Yes.
or by any person or authority authorized by it in this behalf.
That's correct.
So the whip is really a person who is authorized by the political party.
That's correct. That's correct. That's how it functions, Mullah. That's how
Because the direction has to be given by the political party. It can't keep on giving a direction. It's a larger body.
Yeah, that's right.
So therefore, it delegates its power and it authorizes a person who will then issue a direction on which way to vote in the assembly.
In matter when it came up before the law commission, it will be disastrous for democracy, disastrous for the country if the legislature party is allowed to act independent of the political party.
So the actual whip, without, it says, or by any person or authority authorized by it in the
That's
CR.
correct. I read that.
So yes. So the party really nominates or authorizes a person.
That's correct.
And the act of defection lies in
Correct.
voting or abstaining from voting contrary to a direction given by the party or by that person.
Because I want to ask myself, supposing there's a bill in parliament, the legislative party on its own can't decide what the position will be.
Right.
It cannot. Naturally, there'll have to be consultation with the party. Because they are not living in a side, they are not acting in as a separate entity.
They are really the voice of the party in parliament or the state legislature.
That's correct. That's correct.
It's the political party.
The genus is the party, they are the species.